do you feel that kibbles are bad for a dog?
Yeah, for me, it's like killing them slowly.
Any kibbles, like plant-based
Yeah.
kibbles or meat-based kibbles?
Well, yes.
A lot of my friends, they're preparing meat, rice, vegetables,
Yeah.
all this stuff. So that's obviously better than having kibble.
With some factors, yes. But I would say that when a dog is picky, usually it's not because of the food, there is something behind. Like an imbalance of the gut microbiome, some emotional issues, a lack of exercise.
Okay, so this is blowing my mind right now. Dogs consuming is leading to higher inflammation in the body, which is then leading to diseases such as cancer.
Yeah.
Same as humans.
Yeah. If I can say something to any dog parents, never take any nutrition advice from your vet.
So then, what would you suggest is an ideal diet for dogs to have? Be mindful that we're talking about a middle-class family who might not want to spend heaps of money on fancy dog food.
So for a healthy dog, ideal composition of a meal is...
Hey guys, welcome to Kindness with Amy. Today I'm joined by Claire Lucie, who is a UK certified canine nutritionist. She has studied over 1,200 studies analysing the link between dogs' disease and the food that they're eating. So welcome, Claire.
Thank you for having me.
I've been following a lot of your work that you have done online and a lot of the information that you've shared online, and I was really interested because as a canine nutritionist, you share a lot of information around why dogs should be eating a plant-based diet and not having meat in their diet, which is crazy because you talk to any vet, any other person in the world, everyone thinks that dogs are carnivorous, they need to have meat. So Claire, as a canine nutritionist, can you please explain to me, are dogs meant to be eating meat? Because most people think dogs are a carnivore and need to have meat in their diet. So do they need to have meat at all?
No, dogs don't have to eat meat at
Why?
all. So dogs have a very specific nutrient requirement, such as vitamin, amino acids, etc. But they don't have any requirement for specific ingredients, such as meat. And as long as they get all of the nutrients they require, their biological processes will remain unchanged and they will thrive. So they can thrive on different types of diet. If we only look at the nutrition, of course, like there is other factors to consider also, like the inflammatory responses of certain foods, such as meat, etc. But if we just look into nutrition, they can thrive on a diet that has all of the nutrients they require. And it has nothing to do with meat whatsoever, or any animal protein of any kind. So they can be perfectly healthy and thrive on plant-based proteins.
Would you say dogs are healthier if they are not eating meat?
I would say that dogs that are vegan are definitely healthier, and the science is backing that up also. And we are very, very similar to dogs due to our joint evolution. For example, we develop over 3,000 diseases in common. We share the same gut microbiome. We are over 90% identical on a genetic level. And the processes by which dogs are developing, for example, cancer, are identical to humans, or diabetes, etc. So most of the positive effect we see in humans, in science, about humans being vegan, not eating meat, for example, the reduction in cardiovascular disease, etc., and all kind of disease, and also the improved longevity, etc., also apply to dogs.
So basically you're saying dogs that are living on a plant-based diet are more likely to live longer.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
also they're less likely to get the same type of diseases
that
humans are getting, like
Yeah.
cancer and diabetes.
That all of the diseases that are associated with the consumption of meat and animal proteins, and that dogs and humans share in common, such as cancers, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, obesity, all of those diseases.
But explain this to me, because most people think that dogs are carnivores.
Yeah, so dogs are not carnivore. They are classified as omnivorous scavengers. And they have split genome, which is the DNA from wolves, some 27 to 40,000 years ago, according to science. So at that time, they became a very distinct species with different DNA and nutritional requirement. And then they became domesticated by humans and started like their joint evolution with humans. And that shaped a lot of their evolution, and also being fed high starch and humans diet, starting at least 10,000 years ago. So those 1,000 years of evolution has shaped them biologically and also physiologically on different levels.
That's so interesting to hear you say that, because I have a dog, Cookie Monster, who is now 2 years old, and she's completely vegan.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't have a problem feeding my animals meat. I'm a vegan myself, obviously. If my animal requires meat, I'm happy to prepare it. I'm happy to give it. I have no ethical issue with that. And after the research that I had done, I concluded that my dog is actually healthier on a plant-based diet.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting because whenever I tell anyone that my dog is vegan, they're like, oh, you're applying your ethics to your dog, and it's like immoral or it's wrong, and your dog is missing out. And I'm like, but what is my dog missing out on? Like, she is so healthy. It's like 10 out of 10 health, touch wood. And So I don't really understand. I think it's interesting because even as humans, we face that. Like, if we tell anyone that we're vegan, they're like, oh, you're missing out, or you're unhealthy, or whatever. I mean, I've been vegan for 22 years. I'm waiting for the protein deficiency to kick in. So prior to my dog Cookie, I had 2 other dogs, April and Vincent, and they were both plant-based as well, and they lived until 18. Well, April is still alive, and she's past 18. And I just find that dogs do thrive on a plant-based diet. But I'm curious, do you feel that kibbles are bad for a dog?
Yeah, for me, it's like killing them slowly.
Kibbles are killing dogs?
Yeah, kibbles are basically killing dogs.
Any kibbles? Like plant-based kibbles or meat-based kibbles?
Well, yes, vegan kibbles are unhealthy. It's a little bit better than meat-based kibble, but still there is such high risk associated with the consumption of kibble.
Why?
They are officially classified as UPF, or ultra-processed food. And the risk associated with the consumption of ultra-processed food is very well documented in the scientific studies. And we can clearly see the risk, for example, of diabetes in dogs fed and humans eating ultra-processed food. For example, for each additional 10% of kibble in a dog's diet, it will increase its risk of getting diabetes by 70%.
70?
Yeah, and when a dog is fed 100% kibble, we can go over 200% risk of developing diabetes.
Hang on, so this is basically suggesting every dog eating kibble will get diabetes?
At least a lot of them are in pre-diabetes, but I think there is not enough testing and knowledge around diagnosing and treating diabetes in dogs at the moment. But yes, it's far more common than we believe. Yeah.
A lot of my friends feed their dogs meat that they prepare at home. So if they don't feed the dog kibble, they're preparing meat, rice, vegetables, all this stuff. So that's obviously better than having kibble.
With some factors, yes, but meat is unhealthy for dogs. That's the point. And even if it's fresh, it's still highly inflammatory. And for example, when meat is ingested in a meal, even fresh meat, within 1 hour to ingestion, there will be an inflammatory reaction within the body and the cells. And that reaction will take several hours to start slowing down. And usually that's around that time that the next meal with animal protein, meat, is eaten. And it creates like a constant microinflammation within the dog's body and the dog's cells. And that's the baseline of almost all chronic diseases in dogs. Immune-related disease, such as arthritis, cancer, etc.
Okay, so this is blowing my mind right now. So basically, what I'm deducing from this is dogs consuming meat is leading to higher inflammation
In the body.
which is then leading to diseases such as cancer.
Yeah.
Same as humans.
Yeah. And also there is some very interesting studies showing the negative effect of the meat consumption on the gut microbiome. And that's one of the area I am specializing in. It's the role of the gut microbiome on the health of dogs, the longevity and the development of disease. And almost every single disease in dogs and also in humans start in the gut. Even arthritis, we are told that it's an age-related disease, but age is only a very insignificant factor in the development of arthritis. The main factor is the diet. When the gut is composed of healthy bacteria and harmful bacteria, and this represents a very fragile balance. And when the balance is not there anymore, usually because of the diet, the disease starts to develop. It can take months or years. And even cancer starts in the gut. And the issue for me is that meat is disturbing the gut, and especially ultra-processed meat, such as in the kibble or low quality meat-based dog food.
So then what would you suggest is an ideal diet for dogs to have? And let's be mindful that we're talking about a middle-class family who might not want to spend heaps of money on fancy dog food. What would be an ideal diet for dogs to have that's healthy for their health and also an ethical choice and a good choice for the environment?
So the best diet for the environment, for the dog health, and also from an ethical point of view, is an homemade plant-based diet. And it's very budget friendly and also quite easy to do. You can just give them a lot of the food that you are already eating, such as rice, quinoa, beans, chickpeas, sweet potatoes, a lot of greens, fruits. They can have almost every single food that we are eating ourselves. And you can just prepare an additional meal with caution to not include toxic ingredients such as onions or some types of seasoning, etc. And no inflammatory initiating compounds such as meat or animal protein. And a lot also of raw fruits and vegetables, even as snacks, to nourish their gut microbiome, which will help to prevent chronic related disease.
Wow.
And also improve longevity, because in dogs and humans, we can observe certain types of bacteria in the gut that are related to longevity. And those bacteria are fed with raw vegetables and fruits, etc. So it's very important. And also prebiotics food like banana, etc.
So if a dog already eats meat, like let's say someone has had a dog for several years and their dog is used to having meat, because there's a big difference if you get a new dog, like you get a baby, and you get them used to having whole food, plant-based diet, then that's what they will want to have and that's what they're used to, right? Which is what I did with my dog.
Yeah.
But if someone, let's say, gets a dog who's already 4 to 5 years old, they're used to having meat, then to transition them from meat to then whole food plant-based, they may not like the taste, they may reject it. How does someone transition a meat-eating dog to want to have the taste of the plant foods instead?
Yeah, so taste in dogs is an habit. So an habit by definition can be changed repeatedly. So with the right steps, you can change that habit. And it's like an education you have to do with your dog. If you just present them with the plant-based meal and expect them to eat, some will and some will not, because they are used to the taste of meat. So you have to introduce that gradually, starting by replacing a quarter of their meal with more plant foods and fresh vegetables, etc. And gradually, over the course of several weeks, you will increase the portion of plant-based foods and reduce the meat. Very gradually. And take even more time if you need. They will just like get used to that, bit by bit. And there is like also some more practical steps you can take. That's something I go into detail in my consultation, because it's maybe a little bit long to explain that here. But it's totally possible, if even in a dog that was not enjoying plant-based food, you can make them enjoy that. It's just a matter of habit, and also having like healthy eating habit in place. For example, no noisy environment and no eye contacts, not petting the dog when you give them their meal. The dog need a very structured routine in order to like a healthy eating habits. That's very important.
Well, this is upside down in my house because my dog runs the house. It's not me that runs the house. So when she gets a treat, I'm definitely patting her when she's getting a treat. She sleeps on my head. She does whatever she wants. But that's because, I mean, I just feel like she's such a good girl.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe I'm biased.
No, you can keep those habits and that way of living, but around mealtime, like having some more structure can help. Like if she's picky with certain food.
Yeah.
But also when the dog is picky with certain food, there is so much emotion, and also the gut microbiome are playing such a major role.
Maybe you could do
also in
something
appetite.
like, it's kind of like with humans, right? You could do something like, if they're used to having meat, you can phase out the meat. So you could do it that you give them less and less meat and be eating more and more plant foods.
Yeah, that's what I was explaining about the transition process. Yeah, that's the best way to transition. But a lot of dog, when you are giving them a plant-based meal, they will start to eat right away. But like also a lot of them are picky eaters. It depends. But when a dog is picky, usually it's not because of the food. There is something behind. Either like an imbalance of the gut microbiome or some emotional issues.
Right.
There is so many, a lack of exercise. There is so many things that can go behind just the symptoms that you see. Oh, okay, a dog is just picky with that food, or just very particular with food.
Yeah. So a lot of vegetarian dogs in India, what tends to happen is they get fed roti, dal and rice, which is what people are eating anyway, and that's sort of what they're being given. But I don't think that that's a very adequate diet for vegetarian dogs to be having. As a canine nutritionist, can you share with me if that is a suitable diet for dogs to have?
No, that's not a healthy diet for vegetarian dogs at all. There is a lot of cooked meal that contain some toxic ingredients, such as onions, for example. So we have to make sure the meal doesn't contain those ingredients. And it's not particularly healthy for a dog to have like a full cooked meal or very, with sauce and everything. It's better to stick with healthy, minimally processed ingredients, plain rice, some soy sauce, some vegetables, very healthy and basic ingredients.
So you had a pie chart that you had shown me before with the ideal amount of protein and vegetables and different things that dogs should be having, fruits.
So for a healthy dog, and the ideal composition of a meal is 50% protein, such as tempeh, tofu, chickpeas, beans, 15% whole grain, such as quinoa, brown rice. It's best to avoid white rice because it's very high in glucose. And 15% leafy greens vegetables, such as kale, spinach, which contain a lot of essential nutrients for dogs. and 10% of other colorful vegetables, such as sweet potatoes, carrots, etc. 5% of fresh fruits, and also 5% of nuts and seeds.
Wow. Okay. So pretty much a lot of stuff that's just in the fridge already that
Yeah.
we're eating. It's just making sure dogs get a wide variety of proteins, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts,
absolutely.
to have a healthy diet.
Yeah, and as dogs have the same gut microbiome as humans, studies are very clear that humans and also dogs, it apply to them because they have the same gut microbiome, require around 30 different plant food per week to have an optimal gut health.
Wow,
so
same as us.
Yeah, same as us, and the diversity is really key to health and longevity in dogs.
So why are vets telling people that their dogs need to eat meat?
Vets don't know anything about nutrition. So that's the first very important point.
Don't they get like no training on nutrition?
They get either no training or 2 to 4 hours in their entire studies.
In the entire course?
So basically they don't have any knowledge in nutrition.
Wow.
And it estimated that less than 5% of vets worldwide are trained in canine nutrition. And to be trained in canine nutrition, they have to undergo a separate training in canine nutrition, like I did. So, and it's legally, they are not even allowed in most countries to give nutritional advice.
But they do anyway.
They do anyway, and it does so much damage. And so, if I can say something to any dog parents, never take any nutrition advice from your vet. They don't know anything about nutrition. And usually their only knowledge in nutrition is coming from the representative of the pet food brands they are selling.
Exactly.
So it's very important. We are the guardians of our dog's health, not the vets. And it's very important to do your own research and consult with canine nutritionists. And also professionals that are up to date with science, because there is a lot of materials in vet studies that have not been updated for over 40 years.
Wow.
So it's also very important to work with professionals that are
up to
date with science. It's very, very important.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like when you think about doctors when it comes to human health, right?
Yeah,
they're very good
absolutely.
at like sewing us up and like fixing us when something goes wrong. But when it comes to nutrition, in their entire 7-year, 5-year course that they do, they only get a couple of weeks of training on nutrition.
Yeah.
Even that is also heavily biased, and they don't get a comprehensive understanding of holistic medicine, holistic health.
No.
And yet when we do go to the doctor for something, we still do take their advice when it comes to nutrition.
Yeah.
Because you associate a doctor to just know about the human body, right?
Yeah.
And it's very jarring because every time I go to the doctor, they're shocked that I don't eat meat or dairy. And I'm just like, how do you not know anything about like basic nutrition?
Yeah.
I'm not even, I don't have any credentials at all, yet somehow I know more about nutrition, which is highly concerning. But that's just how it is.
Yeah, one of the professor of medicine in Harvard, the famous university in the US, told in an interview that students there, medical students, are getting 4 hours of nutrition.
But then also within the medical community, this is something I was talking about recently with a friend. I find it so wild that science to me is black and white. All right. It's like, this is the information. This is the peer-reviewed research. There's no emotions and feelings. Like, this is just what it is.
Yeah.
Yet within the medical community, we have so much disparity when it comes to the views. Like you've got Dr. McGregor saying that plant-based diet reverses disease and it's the best way for humans to live. But then on this side, you've got Dr. Chafee who's saying that humans don't need fiber and all we should be eating is meat and we should never touch any fruits or vegetables because they're toxic for us. So how is it that when I just don't get it. It's like, it's black and white. So how is it that we've got these opposing views and both of them are so adamant that they're correct?
Yeah, I think I would say that it's not because they are doctors that they are right. And it's not because they are nutritionists that they are right.
They're
You
still
have to
people.
have critical thinking and fiber, for example. It's very well established that humans need fiber for the gut, for our health, for our longevity. That's very well it's established. So if someone say the contrary to that, like a quick search online will tell you that humans do need fiber.
I think that some of these, if we take the example of like a Dr. Chafee, it could just be that their personal bias is so strong then the data that they're looking at is like questionable studies as well, which is what I've heard, is that a lot of the studies he's referring to are very small, very biased, very like out of left field information.
You have to look like if it's a level 1, level 2, level 3 or level 4 study. If it's level 1, level 2 or level 3, it's credible. If it's level 4, like it's basically survey and things like that. So it has to be, it's best if it's level 1.
Yeah.
But it has to be at least level 2 or 3.
Right.
But I doubt that there is any level 1, 2 or 3 studies showing that it's healthy for humans to have fiber.
Yeah.
I really doubt that.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that we need fiber.
So,
we can ignore the carnivore diet people. Well, they're probably all going to die off in the next 5 years anyway, so then we don't have to deal with them. Okay, so before we wrap up, Claire, I wanted to do a response. So this lady did a real response to me where basically I was talking about how dogs are omnivorous and can thrive on a plant-based diet. And she did a response to me basically saying that I'm wrong, it's incorrect information, blah, blah, blah. So since we have, and she's not actually a canine nutritionist, she's just a random person online that calls herself holistic whatever, so that's already concerning. So as a canine nutritionist, I feel that it's best for you to give an actual response to debunk this debunk video. So I'm going to show you the video and we can like respond section by section. The largest study that has ever been done on dog health was recently released.
The study that she talks about is done on 2,500 dog, mostly fed to kibble, then raw, and then vegan. For a study that was supposed to analyze vegan food, there's only 13% vegan dog. An independent analysis of the study said, on first reading of the study, it was very evident that the study relied exclusively on owner data and nothing was done to substantiate these claims. What this means is dogs were never looked at, no blood tests were done, and this was only about the opinion of the owner on their dog's health. Raw fed group was the healthiest, who had 0% serious illness at the end of 1 year of feeding raw, but this was attributed to their age. And when a vegan dog was reported healthy, that was attributed to food.
So that study do not represent all of the data we have on dogs being healthy on a vegan diet. It's only one of the study. And as a canine nutritionist, I can say that dogs that are vegan are healthier through different studies. And it's also vegan diets are the most scientifically studied type of diet for dogs among all of the canine diet available worldwide. And compared to that, there is no level 1, 2 or 3 studies showing any benefit, any health benefit of feeding meat to dogs. There is only a few level 4 studies showing some mild benefit of feeding meat to dog. And this is like survey-based studies. So it's very interesting that almost all dogs are fed a meat-based diet without any strong evidence to back that up.
She says omnivore, but is actually feeding a herbivorous diet to the dog.
And so dogs are omnivore, and omnivore by definition can get their nutrients from either plant or meat. So it's very important to understand that. And it's a myth that dogs have to have meat and they don't have any biological or physiological or nutritional requirement for meat. As long as they get all of the nutrients they require, which are widely available from plant sources or vegan supplement, their biological processes remain unchanged and they can thrive.
So, I mean, it sounds like that from what you've described, dogs thrive on a plant-based diet as long as they're getting a wide variety of whole foods such as proteins, whole grains, vegetables, fruits and nuts, which is what humans should be
Yeah.
having to avoid diabetes and cancers. And you also explain that humans and dogs share very similar gut microbiome.
Yeah, it's almost identical. And it's very important because we know that all of the disease almost start in the gut, especially chronic disease like cancer, etc. So when there is a disturbance in the gut microbiome, then the disease can develop.
So basically you're saying dogs thrive on a plant-based diet and they do not need to be eating meat, raw meat, kibble,
No, not
any
at
of
all.
this stuff.
I think it's essential for us to just push away like all of the ethical belief, etc., and just focus on the health. And just in a matter of health, dogs, as long as they get all of their required nutrients, will be healthy. That's very, very important. Of course, there is other factors to consider, like if there is some ultra-processed food, etc. But in terms of nutrition alone, it's a matter of nutrients, not ingredients.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point.
Yeah. So they require nutrients, not ingredients.
Why the fuck are dogs getting diabetes?
Diabetes. We have known this for 3,000 years. Diabetes is a carbohydrate problem. When you feed an all-carb diet to your dog, chances of diabetes is going to be much higher.
So this lady is saying that diabetes is caused by carbohydrates, basically attributing the fact that if a dog is a vegetarian, that they're having high carbohydrates, which in turn is causing diabetes. So as a canine nutritionist, what is your response to that?
No, carbs are not causing diabetes in dogs. Ultra-processed carbs are definitely a contributor to the development of diabetes, especially through the gut microbiome. But carbs in itself, like healthy, minimally processed carbs, are not causing diabetes. And actually, carbs in the form of whole grains have been the primary ingredients in a dog's diet through the different ages, through the different periods since the Neolithic times.
Wow.
Yeah, it was found by analyzing the remain of dogs from different times in history, and also feeding guide, etc. Feeding guidelines that we have that remain from different, for example, the middle age, etc. And we see that meat has never been a substantial ingredient in the canine diet through the different ages. So it's very, very important that the dogs have evolved with little to no meat. And the main ingredients in the canine diet were all bread, cooked vegetables, whole grains, the most important ingredients, and finally some meat and raw bones. But
right.
Yeah, it's very minimal.
Yeah.
In most of the...
Like scavengers. I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like humans, like we were scavengers. We
Yeah.
are scavengers,
Yeah.
omnivorous scavengers, essentially. Well, we're more herbivorous, but so if there was any meat in the diet, it would be small amounts as per what you scavenge.
Yeah. And usually humans tended to keep the meat for themselves.
Yeah.
Many humans were not even able to find meat to eat. And therefore, they were giving some of their diets to dogs. It's very interesting because starting 10,000 years ago, approximately, as a result of being fed whole grains for a long period of time, dogs have developed over up to 30 copies of the gene AME2B, which is to digest starch. And that's a similar number to humans. And dogs, in comparison, only have 2 copies of that gene. So it shows us that in a very clear way that dogs are able to thrive on a omnivorous and high starch diet.
Amazing.
So it's, science is truly amazing.
Science is cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Oldest living dog in the world was a vegan. He's 27 years old.
Bramble is not the oldest dog in the world. Bobby is 31 years, 165 days, and he was on a fresh diet of meat, fish, and organic vegetables.
So last one. So this lady has claimed that Bramble is not the oldest living dog, and there's a new 31-year-old, I forgot his name.
Bobby, yeah.
Yes, Bobby is the oldest living dog, somehow taking away the fact that Bramble also lived to a very old age as a vegan. That doesn't take that fact away, right?
No.
And again, these are anecdotal things because we also know that everyone's got a grandma that lived until she was 99 and smoked and drank and
That
did all these things.
those
That's
are
anecdotal.
yeah,
That's like, there's
exactly.
always exceptions to the rule. We're talking about as a whole, as a species as a
Yeah.
whole, what is the optimum diet for a dog or a human to have?
Yeah, so in the case of Brumble, he was in fact the longest living dog at his time. So that's a fact. And Bobby became the longest living dogs very recently, and he unfortunately died at the age of 31. And we can observe like common factors among the longest living dogs. They are having 2 to 3 hours of exercise daily. They are living in a very low stress environment, which is crucial for dogs. Their stress is as detrimental for dogs as it is for humans. And they are eating a fresh diet with little to no meat. So that's the common factors that indicate the longevity for dogs. And in the case of Brumble, it's very interesting. There is a very interesting fact. His mother, Anne, used to have 2 other border collies that were not related by blood to Brumble. And each of them lived to be 19 and 20 years old and were fed a fresh homemade plant-based diet without any supplement or anything. Just lentils, rice, cooked vegetables, nutritional yeast.
And we see that across the board. Anyone that I speak to that has a dog that's on a whole food plant-based diet, the dogs are living on average 18, 19, 20 years old even.
And it's fascinating because I was speaking with a vet. She has a vet hospital for over 30 years, and she has seen thousands and thousands of patients through those years. And even as little as 20 years ago, she said that our patients were usually living up to 18 to 20 years old. And now it's more like 10 years old, 12 years old. And that decrease in longevity is very alarming. And from my perspective, the diet is responsible for a lot of that. So it's like very good indicator also that we have to do better with our dog's diet.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Claire, for joining me today and sharing your knowledge about dog nutrition. I feel like I've actually genuinely learned a lot today, and I will take away some of these findings and improve my own dog's nutrition and what I'm feeding her. And I will include more resources for people that do want to learn more about how to change their dog's diet, transition their diet, and for further learning as well. Dog nutrition. Yeah,
for further learning and science, that scientific data, etc. But thank you for having me. It was like a very nice conversation, and
Thank you so much,
Thank
Claire.
you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.